Girl with the Pearl Earring.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful soundtrack. I love that one too.
Syriana, The Painted Veil, The Queen, and the one that we're very much crazy about, which is Birth.
Beautiful. I mean, but I forgot The Girl with the Pearl Earring. I thought the soundtrack to that was just magnificent.
Yeah.
But Birth is exceptional.
And you and I have the same reaction when we saw Birth and it started, and he actually speaks to this in this interview. Just incredibly captivating from the beginning, and you actually, for the first time, you kind of perked up and thought, "Man, what music!"
It was mind blowing.
Yeah, usually music is just so it's a little bland in service of the movie, and it's you can anticipate it and expect what it'll sound like. His scores are very captivating and original.
They are. They really are.
We're talking, of course, about Alexandre Desplat, and he's one of the few composers whose musical expressions can take a film beyond mere images on the screen and straight up into the heavens. He's been honored with significant industry recognition, including a Golden Globe win for The Painted Veil and an Oscar nomination for The Queen. Just nominated for a Golden Globe Award for his gorgeous score for Benjamin Button. Mr. Desplat calls us from London earlier today, where he's working at Abbey Road Studios, as I mentioned. And in this conversation, he discusses his collaboration with Fincher, the tone of the film's music, and his upcoming projects, which include Terrence Malick's upcoming film Tree of Life.
Wow.
And the Meryl Streep Julia Childs movie, Julie and Julia.
Yeah, okay.
He worked on as well. And to close the show tonight after this interview, stick around because we're going to premiere a track from his score to Benjamin Button. So I'm sure everyone will look forward to that. So here it is, Alexandre Desplat.
What drew you first to music? I understand you started playing the piano as a child. What drew you to that?
My parents were very fond of listening a lot of different kind of music, and they just put the three children to the conservatory to learn how to play an instrument. And as my older sister did, when I was 5, I went near piano and I started learning piano. But my sisters were playing piano, so I got a little bit upset of doing the same thing as the girls were doing. So I liked what my father was listening to, which was Louis Armstrong and Coleman Hawkins, and I thought maybe trumpet would be good. And I started learning trumpet until I had kind of a clash with my teacher and didn't like the teacher very much, and switched to flute. And that's how I became a flutist. And one day I just went into composing.
Right. You've been composing for film for quite a long time. You know, American audiences, you know, they might just be, you know, seeing your name for the last 4 or 5 years. But you started composing in movies in the mid-'80s project.
Well, I think my first short movie was in 82 or 3, and the first feature was in 85 or 86, yes. Yeah. Quite a long time ago already. I feel like an old man, especially with my broken voice from having a cold.
Okay.
I really sound like I'm 95, which I'm not.
Okay, you're still a relatively young man. How did you get into film composing?
It's a passion thing, you know. I was a cinephile and going to see movies all the time, and I started noticing the soundtracks and started collecting movie soundtracks. And of course, the rare things were not the French things, because you could find the French things. The rare things were the American things, like the soundtracks of Waxman and Korngold and North. And I started to try and find in flea markets and shops these rare records, like Taras Bulba or the Vikings or Picnic, these kind of soundtracks. And I just realized how much there was an opportunity of writing good music and associate it to the other passion I had, which was cinema. That it worked. You could really do something that would write something that would stand alone. And I think that's what really brought me to movies, the passion of movies mixed with the passion of music.
Was it one score in a particular film, or is it one particular composer that you got hooked on that really got you really got into this?
I can remember many little streams that made a big river. For example, when I say many streams, little streams, I mean like listening to Bill Evans playing Spartacus Love theme by Alex North. Mm-hmm. You go, oh, I really have to get the score of that if I don't have this vinyl, the complete score of Spartacus. And then you go and you see Star Wars and you think, wow, there's so much there that is near from my classical education. Stravinsky, Prokofiev, Ravel, Debussy, all put into one brain, which is John Williams' incredible talent and all these amazing melodies and so complex but still fine orchestrations. And you see the Hitchcock movies and you go, wow, the music is so strong and so important. It makes 75% of the movie. And the same with Fellini and Rota. So it's really many little streams that fed my big river of love for movie soundtracks. What
do you think of when you hear something almost minimalist by John Williams, like Jaws or Michel Legrand for, Summer 42 or Love Story, where it's not, the big orchestral and it's very minimalist? What do you think when you hear that?
I love it. I love it too. On the many movies I've done in France and in England, many of them had no orchestra. There was a string quintet or a string quartet with a few players, or a jazz combo, and I've been trained in doing these kind of scores, actually, these minimal scores. And yes, Incidental Tourist might be one of the best scores of John Williams, but it's not a huge, thing. A huge sound, just an intimate sound. And of course, Summer of 42, which is jazzy, is fabulous. And one of my favorite scores by Bernard Herrmann is The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, which is the more intimate score that he wrote, possibly. And Taxi Driver. So I'm rather keen when and happy when the score can drift and blend with different influences. The other one I could name is Ascenseur pour l'échafaud, music by Miles Davis for Louis Malle.
Right.
So there's many scores that I love and that really influenced me in this also very intimate level of sound. And again, that's one of the first things I said when I came to America, that in France we don't use many orchestras in the scores. We don't want to have an orchestra intruding in a bedroom or in a cafe.
Well, I'm sure every composer has their own philosophy of what a score should do, whether it should accentuate or be counterpoint to a scene. What do you feel a score should do for a film?
I think it has to enhance the imagination, the hidden emotions. That's the way a score should work. Because what we see on screen, we don't care. We see it. Mm-hmm. We don't need to underline it. I guess that's our more European sensitivity. That what you see, you don't have to repeat. And I think actually that's what David Fincher wanted me to do also. Mm-hmm. Or Ang Lee or a few directors I've worked with, they want the score to have this quality of creating another dimension of imagination.
Well, and Fincher has said that he was a big fan of your great score for Birth, and I'm curious, how did he describe what he wanted musically for Benjamin Button? What was his dictate, if you will, if he had one?
Well, Birth, the dictate of the director of Birth, Jonathan Glazer, was, Alexandre, can you write a non-score? And I said, oh yeah, I'd love to. And that's what we tried really hard. A non-score being something that doesn't follow the again, what I said, that does not repeat the action, but create another dimension. And that's exactly what David wanted, that the music would create a world of emotion that we could share and have empathy with Benjamin Button, the character, played by Brad Pitt, and never, ever underline or accentuate the love story, but just make it more moving or more desperate or more sorrowful.
Would it seem that Fincher, because he is a big music guy, whether he's used source music in his movies or with music videos and so forth, so it would seem that he really thinks in almost music terms. His movies have kind of, you could say, movements, if you will. And so I was wondering, was it an easy dialogue between you and him on what he wanted for the film?
Very, very easy, because, as you say, he's trained, he's very experienced, and he's got a good taste, and so when you play something that's not exactly right, he can very quickly analyze and understand why it's not in the right direction. They leave you freedom, but they expect you to surprise them and to reach a land that they've not explored, that they've not thought of, and that's what they want. They want you to be even more brave than they are. And that's, of course, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of anxiety and questioning, but it's the best way to stretch and find, again, to go to terra incognita.
I saw the film, and I was really struck when I was watching the movie that here was an epic. I mean, it's an epic film, and it spans decades, and yet the score for a long time is very delicate. Was that something Fincher said that needed it to be, or is that just the way when you saw the images, like, you know what, these images just need a little, they need a light touch versus something, big, if you will?
Well, it's all that together, yes. A light touch. Also follow Benjamin Button, which are his emotions. And he's a very laid-back character in the movie. He's not very active. He's watching the world around him with a very kind perspective. He's very gentle and very. He's a man who likes to love the mankind, and the music couldn't be aggressive or arrogant. There's something that wouldn't match. So I think the music had to be. I thought the music had to be tender and very delicate. The other element is the sound of the movie, which is very full. Could it be because of the environment of music in New Orleans, but also because of voiceovers that are there most of the time? Could it be his voiceover or old Kate Blanchett's voiceover, which is narrating the movie? So you had to how do you say, like a snake, the music had to go very, very, very in very minimal little holes and blossom a little bit and then hide again, and it's like going in a mysterious forest. You can't go loud. You have to go. You got to be very precise and delicate.
Is there one particular musical cue or sequence that you did where you're like, you know what, that's perfect of image and music coming together in the film, in Benjamin Button? Is there a sequence?
Well, it's hard for me to say that, because perfection is something that we will never reach. Right. I can think of moments that move me, but it's the mix of everything, as you know. And it's also the journey of the movie that makes that at one point you're moved. I've seen actually people in the theater crying at moments that were not sad, but just because they had to release the emotion that had taken them for a few minutes on a previous scene, and on a funny scene they would release the emotion and cry. It's very it was very, very moving. I don't know. I like very much the opening, Mr. Gâteau, this clocksmith character. I think there's something really magical there, and then I like very much the love theme. I like the when the two characters make love, when they meet, when for the first time the two bodies get together,
right.
and when they many years later they get together again. I like these two moments very much. I think that David made such a beautiful work there, of holding the emotion back to release it at the very, very moment where you can't hold your tears because it's so strong and so moving.
Right. Is there a difference of scoring in filming for European films versus American films?
I think things have changed a lot in the last 10 years, 15 years. I think film music is using new tools, not only the electronic, but I mean new tools that come from concert music. Could it be from the very contemporary composers, from Boulez to Stockhausen or John Cage, but also from the minimalists, Glass, Adams, Reich, and the way some composers in the 80s started to try different directions in films and having not only a huge orchestra playing loud and following the action. If today we would write a vertigo kind of score on a movie, it would be very weird. It would be rather inappropriate. So I think that the difference between European scores and American scores have shrinked a lot in that level. Now, in terms of budget, of course, American budgets are bigger, and the tradition also is more into having a larger sound of the score. But aside from that, I think the directors are more, at least from my generation, between 35 and 45. They have this sensibility, which is now sensitivity, which and this aesthetic, which is more about creating what I said before, another world, and not just following the action. And then you can find directors like this in America, like Fincher, or in England, like Jonathan Glazer, or Peter Weber, or in France, like Jacques Audiard, who's the best French director. They share the same desire of a score that would create another world.
You've gotten a lot of critical citations, and you did get nominated for the Queen, and you've been nominated, I believe, for Golden Globe for Benjamin Button. So what would a nomination mean again for Benjamin Button? Well,
the Oscars is the top of the tops of the actors, of all the technical, below the line people, and of course the best of the composers, the best of everything. So to be part of that bunch is a tremendous reward. To be honored by or heard as a musician by your peers is very. It's a strong emotion, and also because the history of the Oscars shows the names of the composers that I have admired, from Maurice Jarre, Georges Delerue, Michel Legrand, Francis Lay for the French, Gabriel Yared, of course, and for the last years, and all the American composers, Herman, Williams, Goldsmith, Emma Bernstein. So to be suddenly part of that list is a dream. It's a child's dream. So it would be marvelous to be nominated again. I would be more than honored and happy. It's marvelous.
Well, and I want to ask you about two projects that are in the works, and I'm curious what the status of one of them. But I've talked to production designer Jack Fisk about the film, and I got to ask about Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life, and I'm wondering what those spotting sessions are like, because Malick is notorious for going through many edits of the film, be it longer or shorter, and really going back and forth. So have you started on that, or what's the status of that?
I can't really comment on that. The only thing I can't really comment on that. The only comment I can give is that Terrence Malick is not looking for a movie score.
Okay.
He's looking for music, and he's just seeking for the music that will fit, and that will give the rhythm and the emotion that he's seeking for. Mm-hmm. The rest is not important. Should it start here? Should it start there? I think that's the least of his issues, concerns. That's all I can say so far.
Well, I look forward to that. And then the other film, which I assume because it's directed by Nora Ephron, it might be a real change of pace. But Julie and Julia, how's that score? What's that score like working with Nora Ephron?
Well, Nora is a very precise writer. Mm-hmm. So of course, when the music comes to the picture, it's got to be very, very precise, as any comedy should be, because the pace, as you know, is crucial, and the precision of every single entry of music is crucial. It brings me back to my European or French training, because I've done a few comedies, of course, in France. Mm-hmm. And in England, where you learn where to find the right balance between not being goofy and still being light. I think it's very difficult to write the score of a comedy. Very, very difficult, because you always are on a thin thread that can easily put you down if you go too funny. It becomes very cheesy. And it kills the movie. So, in terms of orchestration, the movie is set mostly in France in the 50s. So I've used my ability to mix jazz guitar, and jazz piano, and accordion, and write waltzes for strings, and this kind of.
I would think that the film would be kind of exciting in that it would be the best of both worlds, in that here's an American film, but it's a comedy, but then it's set in the 50s in France, and so you get to draw on that history, and you really get to it gives you an opportunity to kind of mix and match a lot of stuff that has influenced you up to this point.
Yeah, well, it was really a lot of fun to do, and as you say, using all my tools, all my colors, because I've got many tools in my bag that I've tried through the years, and I've tried on this one to mix some of them and put them together in a new order. And I think Nora was very happy. I think it works very well, and the movie is really, really funny. Meryl Streep is fantastic, and Amy Adams is really sweet, and it's a great movie. It's a beautiful movie.